What's up guys, Justin here with TheSketchUpEssentials.com, back with another SketchUp Essentials tutorial for you. So this week we're actually going to talk about using layout to create architectural drawings. So I'm going to give you kind of an introduction to the software and walk you through some kind of basics. So let's go ahead and just jump into it. So one quick note guys, I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a resource page for layout on my website. That's going to be at TheSketchUpEssentials.com/layout. That's going to have just a bunch of resources and tools and stuff like that that can help you learn how to use layout. So make sure you visit TheSketchUpEssentials.com/layout for more information. All right, so first thing I want to point out is layout is part of the SketchUp Pro version. So if you recall, last week I made a video showing you the difference between SketchUp Pro and SketchUp Make. SketchUp Make is the free version of SketchUp. SketchUp Pro is the paid version. So this is one of those things that usually gets used for more commercial uses anyway, and that's kind of what the license terms of SketchUp are. Also, is if you're going to be doing anything commercially, then you need to be using the Pro version. So in this case, this does come with the Pro version, and even if you want to give it a try, you can, when you download SketchUp, you do get a 30-day free trial of the Pro version that does come with a free trial of layout. So if you want to give it a shot, that definitely is something that you can do. So first thing that happens when you open up layout is that you get this kind of getting started page, or at least you do on mine. I'm not sure if you can turn that off or not, but what it comes up with, actually it may come up with this tip of the day first. Those are always worth reading because those will have some things in there that can definitely help you out with what you're trying to create. But I'm going to go ahead and close that. And when you first open up layout, what you're going to get is you're going to get this getting started page. And this getting started page is going to let you select a template. So a template is basically going to be what your sheet is going to look like. So what your architectural sheets are going to look like. In this case, there's a whole bunch of different options down here. If you have this default template selected, then all of the options will be in here. But if you look down here, you can either take just a plain paper page. So if you select one of these paper pages, those are just going to be blank pages that you can go in and add stuff to. Or if you come down here to this section called title block, what that's going to give you is that's going to give you a whole bunch of different options for sheets that actually have like a title space. So you could put things like your company name or the project name or something like that. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and just select A3 landscape. It doesn't really matter which one of those you select right now. So just pick one of those. And when you click open, you can see what that's going to do is that's going to add a sheet in here. And if you take a look at this sheet, you can see what that has is that has a page number. That has a whole bunch of different things in here for who drew this and what the sheet names are and what the project name is, all that different kind of stuff. So you can also put your own logo in here. You can customize this to basically your company and your needs. And what you can do is all you have to do is just come in here and just double click on this. So like for example, if I double click on one of these objects, in this case for the project name, I could come in here and I could replace project name with sample house, and then you just click off of it and that'll be updated in here in your title block. Alright, so if you come in here and you select a title page sheet, or if you come in here and you select a title block template, what that's going to do is that's going to create a couple different sheets. And so what we're going to take a look at next is if you look off to the right hand side of this of your workspace here, it's kind of like SketchUp in that it has a tray. And your tray over here is going to have a bunch of different tools that you can use in order to kind of make your plans in this sheet. So it's got everything from like text styles to dimensions to colors to all this different kind of stuff. So if you kind of scroll down, you can see what this does is it'll show you your pages. And it's the same kind of thing as it is in SketchUp with the tray, where if you go to window, there's a whole bunch of different options and things that you can check to turn different things on and off in your tray. So in this case, what I'm looking at is I'm looking at this inside page versus cover page. So what you have in here is you have basically a list of pages that you have in your project. So in this case, when you select this template, what it does is it creates a cover page. So that's a page that goes on the front that kind of describes your project. That's not necessarily numbered or anything like that, but then it also comes in here and it creates an inside page. So your cover page has this information down here, And then your inside page has stuff off to the side and also a page number on it. So what you can do is you can come in here and you can click the plus button. And whenever you click the plus button, it's going to insert a new page. So you can see how when I click plus, it's adding a page 4 and a page 5, and you can name those and you can manage those in this pages section. So you can come in here and you can name these. So like if this was like plan views, you could come in here and you could name this plan views. So you could name each page over here. So you could call this one elevations, and you could basically manage the sheets in your layout file in the pages section. So, and we'll get a little bit more into some of this as well. Alright, so you can create and manage your different pages by doing that. So, that's how you create your pages. So, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to learn how to bring a model into layout. So, there's a couple different ways that you can do this. So, the first is you can come in here and you can insert a file. So, like for example, I have a model that I've created over here of a very simple house. So I didn't even model interior walls. I basically have exterior walls with windows and a door and a roof. That's all that I've created in here. And I've created some different layers and that kind of thing that we'll talk about in a future video. But for right now, we're not going to worry about dealing with layers or organizing or anything like that. I'm just going to show you how to get a model into layout. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this model so that any changes that I have are in here, and then you can either come in here to layout and click insert and then go find that model, and you can double click on it, and what that's going to do is that's going to bring that model into layout. So you can see how when it brings that in, it keeps that view that you have saved in your model right now. So you can see how I've got this kind of perspective view of my house. And so when you bring that in, you can resize this and change different things. You can move stuff around. So right now what I've got is I've got kind of my paper space in here. So that's the actual paper. And then I've also got basically a window into my model. So if I want to, I can double click in here, and I can actually orbit around and move around in my model. So you can see how I can kind of adjust, go to kind of a top view. I can move around. You can't really edit things, I don't think, but you can definitely adjust your views and your visibilities by doing this. So this really is like a window into your model. But what you can tell by looking at this is this isn't necessarily a super useful view. You know, it's not a plan view. It's not really to any kind of scale. It's not really, you can't really do a whole lot with it other than kind of move it around, adjust your view, and move this around on the page. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go back into our SketchUp model, and we're going to adjust, or we're going to set up some views, because the way things look in layout come from what's in the actual SketchUp model itself. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So when I go back into SketchUp, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a plan view. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the roof off. So you can see how my roof is off. And it's really important that you manage your layers and your groups and all of that, because what's visible in this model is what's going to show up in layout. That's going to be how you're going to get all your line weights. That's going to be how you create the plans that you want, that sort of thing. But for right now, again, we're only going to worry about getting a view over into layout so you get kind of an idea of how to do that. And so what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to click on this top view. If you don't have the top view, you can also go to Camera, Standard Views, Top. And actually, when you first do this, probably what it's going to look like is more like this. So you can see how I've got my building in here. I drew my walls, I drew my windows into it, but you can see how it's got this kind of perspective view, because SketchUp is by default in perspective mode. And what that means is it draws this like it's going to a vanishing point. So that means all of these lines, instead of going straight up and down, what they're doing is they're going like they were going to a point off into the distance. That's called the vanishing point, and that's called perspective. And so that means when you get into a plan view like this, it doesn't actually look like a straight up and down plan view. Well, the way that you're going to change that is you're going to go up to camera and you're going to click on parallel projection. And you can see how when you click on parallel projection, what that does is that takes your model and it turns perspective off, so you just see your walls kind of straight up and down. So next what we're going to do is, now that we've got this view that we kind of like, we're going to add a scene. And so what you can do is you can go up to View, Animation, Add Scene, or you can come over to the Scene section in your tray and name this way. So we're going to call this Plan View. And what you want to do is you want to make sure all of these different boxes are checked in here so that it's saving your camera location, basically everything about this view in this scene. So we've created a scene called Plan View that we want to take over into our layout model. And so what we're going to do is, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to save your model again, because layout's basically referencing this model file. And then what you can do is you can right click on this window and you can click Update Model Reference. And you can see how when I updated my model reference, what it did is it basically brought this in, but kind of at that perspective view without the roof turned on. And so that at least shows that we're kind of linked and everything's working the way that we want it to work. But what we want to do is we want to actually align this to that view that we created in SketchUp. And so what you're going to do is you're going to click on this window to select it, and then if you come over here to the right, you can see how this section called SketchUp Model is in here, and you can see how it's got standard views, scenes, and scale. And so what we want to do is we want to click this drop down, and when we updated our model reference, it should bring in this plan view option. So that's the view we created. So if I click on plan view, you can see how what that does is that adjusts the way this looks to that actual plan view that we created. So this actually corresponds to the view that we're creating in the SketchUp model. And what's powerful about this is that means when we adjust our model, this is automatically going to adjust. So, like, let's say for example, if I came in here and I move my door over and I click Save, just in this plan view right here, and that's going to screw everything up on the front side, but that's alright. If I move my door over in plan view, and there's a level of planning that has to happen with your model for this to work properly, but if I move this over in plan view, then I come over here and I right click and I click Update Model Reference, what that's going to do is that's going to refresh your model, and you see how this door moved to the side just where we moved it right here. So what that means is once you kind of get your view, if you set everything up properly, this will all adjust kind of dynamically, meaning whenever you make a change in your model, your changes will get made in your plan sheets as well, and you don't have to come back and keep resetting your views and that kind of thing. So I'm going to go ahead and move this door back over here. I'm going to go back to my plan view. So you can see how one of the things that we're not getting right now is your windows aren't showing up, and neither is your door. I mean, you're getting the door swing that we modeled in here, but the actual windows and door aren't showing up. So what we're going to do now is we're going to come in here and we're going to create a section cut as a part of this view. So you're going to go to Tools, Section Plane, and you may want to tap the up button. So what that'll do is that'll lock this to this blue axis, meaning it's going to take a cut through your model straight up and down. So tap the up key to lock this to the blue axis, and then create a section cut that goes straight through your windows and your doors and your walls. And so what you can do then is you can click back on this top view, and you can see how now you can see your different walls in here. And you can see how there's a few issues in here, like this texture is showing up and that kind of thing. But for the most part, the other thing you can do is you can go to your view and you can turn off section planes. So now that plane doesn't actually show up, but your section cut does. So now you've got this kind of perspective, or your plan view of your building that you can move over into layout. And what you're going to do is once you've kind of set this up, you're going to right click on this plan view scene, and you're going to click update. And so when you click update, what that does is that updates the scene. Then you can click save. You can go over into layout and you can right click and you can click update model reference. And so you can see right there what that did is that came in here and that updated the way that this looks. So you can see how this brings in section cuts, it'll bring in styles, it'll bring in a lot of different things. So one other thing I want to do is I want to take a style and I want to apply that to this model. So in this case, SketchUp has a whole bunch of different built-in straight line models, which are great for plans like this. And so you can see how they're all at different line weights. And you can use these line weights to create different looks in layout. But in this case, I'm just going to click on one of these. So in this case, I clicked on this straight lines, 3 pixels. And you can see how when I click on that, what that does is that takes your SketchUp model and it draws it with this style that doesn't necessarily show all the fills and all the materials. It basically shows your lines in here. So now if I go to my plan view, this is a lot cleaner view straight up and down. And you could select any of these really. You could have heavier lines, you could have really light lines if you wanted to. You could select any of these different options. So maybe I'll put this on this first straight lines option. And then I'm going to do the same thing where I turn the section planes off so you can't see it. And then I'm going to right click on this plan view again and I'm going to click update. And you can see how now this has saved this, or this has applied that line weight style to your model. Now you can come up here and click File, Save. And then you can do the same thing over in Layout where you update your model reference. So that this shows up. And for some reason this is still showing my section plane. I'm not really 100% sure why it's doing that, but let's go ahead and just move on for right now. So the last thing I want to talk about is scales. So when you bring this into your model, right now it's just kind of sizing everything based on your window that you have in here. So right now this isn't set to a certain scale. So you can see how if I go over to SketchUp Model and I click Scale, or if I look at Scale, right now this isn't set to any real scale. So what we want to do is we want to come in here and you can see how you can select different architectural scales. So this is useful for if you want to like send this to contractors, or if you want to create things that are actually like scaled models. You can click different scales based on this little drop down. So in this case, I'm going to click the 1/4 inch equals 1 foot, and you can see how this little box right now is checked. So we want that box checked because you see how it says preserve scale on resize. That means if I click and drag this, then the actual scale of my model is going to stay the same. So if that box isn't checked and I click and drag this, then sometimes what it'll do, especially if I click on this corner right here, is it'll actually resize my model as I click and drag this to kind of fit in the workspace, which is useful if you're doing things like perspective views where people aren't going to actually try to like dimension off of them. But in this case, we want to keep that 1 inch or 1/4 inch equals a foot scale. So you want to click on that box, you want to uncheck that, or you want to keep that box for preserve scale on resize checked. And that way you can use this to actually size this window to your model and move it around, set it on your page, that kind of thing. And then I know I said that was the last thing, but there's one other thing you can do, which is come in here, and if you go down to the bottom, there's a scrapbooks section. And so the scrapbooks section is going to have a whole bunch of different things that you can use to create labels and different things like that in your model. So you've got a whole bunch of different title block options in here. So like for example, if you wanted to put a title block that's got your drawing name in here, you could just drag a copy of this over and you could place that under your window. So we could call this floor plan. So, and then you can put your scale in here. So, and I don't believe the scale here actually adjusts dynamically. I think you may have to put that in manually. I haven't really done a whole bunch of research on that part yet. But you can see how that comes in here, and that'll let you label your drawings so you can create all your different drawings and that kind of thing. So that was a real quick first kind of introduction overview to layout. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought. Did I cover what you wanted? There's definitely going to be some more tutorials in here dealing with line weights and keeping your model organized, that sort of thing. So I'm definitely going to work on those. But in the meantime, I wanted to go ahead and get kind of an introduction done, especially for those of you that haven't done a lot with layout, just so you can kind of get an idea how everything works. So leave that comment below. Let me know what you thought. If you like this video, please remember to click that like button down below. If you're new around here, remember to click that subscribe button for new SketchUp content every week. If you like what I'm doing in this channel, please consider visiting my Support Me page on my website. That's TheSketchUpEssentials.com/support. That's got everything from some extensions you can purchase to help support the show to links to my Patreon page. But in any case, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. I really appreciate it, and I will catch you in the next video. Thanks, guys.